Alright guys, bet you didn't think this would be coming back. Welcome back again to more Tiny Bunny. Yeah, it's been a bit guys. The only reason for that was because when I first started this game, I remembered it was still within the maybe 2 or 3 episode stage. And I know this game has a total of, I believe, maybe 5 episodes. And now that the 5th is about to be released, I figured what better time as any to finally start playing this game now that, you know, the final episode's drawing nearer. So, hey, I actually had to catch up again and rewatch my old videos so I can remember what was going on. And, yep, I still remember. Still scary. Still unsettling. And we're coming back now, guys. So, yep. I'm ready to, once again, re-immerse myself in this world and terrify myself. So, if anything else, hope you all enjoy. Let's get back to it. Alright, yeah, let's open the drawer. One of the drawers was empty. I hid the mitten there. Okay, this simple action drained the last bit of strength from me. Really? I sat on the bed. And only then I noticed there was someone behind the curtains. That might not be your sister. My tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to medication I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort, as if the wind was blowing the walls out like a pair of sails. The corners of the room bent and undulated. The only stable thing in the whole room was the figure between the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth was stuck to my hidden visitor. It reminded me of burial sheets.
Оля,
Who else would be standing there? I stood up and licked my dry lips.
Оля, очень смешно.
The silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped softly by the curtains, as if there was a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached towards the curtains. Ba-doom, ba-doom. Beat my heart, controlled by medication. The wind sang in the field with a chorus of voices. For a second, I wanted to return to the bed, just lie down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking right back at me. You know, this is happening in the daytime too, which is just as frightening, because it would have been worse if it was at night, but usually in the daytime, things are a lot more safer. They're looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep. Plastic rings rustled against the holder when I pulled open the curtains.
Попался!
Oh, okay, thank God.
Да я сразу понял, что это ты.
A blindingly bright halo left up above Olia's head with the setting sun as the background. My sister was shining. When she was just a baby, Dad always used to say she was shining with happiness. I always retorted, but Dad, she's not some flashlight. But I brought her to the window one day and sunlight poured on her smiling face. I felt like I was holding a light-woven child.
А я все видела.
Да ну,
Что ты спрятал?
She was just like my mom when she was little, before she put on her sad mask of tiredness and switched to her commanding tone of voice.
ничего, просто...
Olia ran up to the table, her eyes round, and asked,
Ты что-то украл и теперь прячешь? Ты вор?
Что? Глупая. Ничего я не крал.
A clear image came to mind, that mitten hanging from a tree branch. What if I did steal it after all? From the forest, from the tilted figure standing behind black trees, Olia could be selfish and stubborn when she wanted.
Покажи тогда.
Поклянись, что никому не скажешь. Тогда покажу.
I don't think she's gonna say much if she sees a mitten. Olia wore a plotting smile.
Клянусь маминым сердцем.
An oath she heard in one of the movies about the pioneers we watched.
Не говори так.
Olia nodded and made a gesture with her hand, locking her mouth with an imaginary key. She was filled with curiosity that was splashing in her giant eyes. I opened the drawer and Olia leaned in, holding her breath. It looked like there was not just a simple mitten, but some sort of exotic critter.
Это чья-то варежка?
She said that as if she couldn't understand what she saw.
Один мальчик потерял. И сам потерялся. Теперь понимаешь, как опасно гулять в лесу, особенно детям?
Yes, don't wander the forest at night.
Ему, наверное, там очень холодно. Его найдут?
Обязательно. Участковый по домам ходит, всем фотографию его показывает.
Olia traversed the room with care and pressed her tiny palms against the window.
А почему он по домам ходит, а не по лесу? Боится?
The question caught me off guard.
Милиционеры ничего не боятся. И лес они прочесали.
Yeah, right. Flash in my clouded mind. Did they really check every nook and cranny where darkness, cold, and whispers of icy branches dwell? If that's the case, how did they miss the mitten? Or did it appear later, for me? I changed the topic. As if trying to get Olia as far away as possible from the forest thicket.
Если я сам найду пропавшего мальчика, нам, может, награду дадут.
You know what's distracting me? The poster on the wall. Like, we see the one of a cat. That's actually a pretty cool drawn cat. And then the singer on stage. I don't know, but I get the feeling that might be Michael Jackson. I could be wrong, but it seems like it to me. We may get a reward if I go and find this boy by myself.
Кучу всякого, как в поле чудес. Клёво же.
Olia wasn't listening to me. She was piecing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic for her.
А что, если эта сова его утащила?
Ерунда. Не может сова поднять человека. Но вот что...
I was picking my words with utmost care. I forced them out of my overexerted brain.
Ты в лес не суйся. Мне кажется, он какой-то... Как бы сказать... Проклятый, что ли?
Как в сказке?
Нет, скорее, как на той страшной кассете, что родители прячут.
Olia shivered and stole a glance at the window.
Я видела, как ты убегал. За тобой кто-то гнался?
Нет, просто, чтобы мама не волновалась, спешил домой.
I know you don't want to scare your sister, but I'm pretty sure she noticed you running away from something and not because you were just trying to hurry back. As I looked at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She was so fragile. It was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind, and her small fire would be gone.
Хорошо тебе. Меня вот мама не пускает даже на крыльцо.
No, you're better off indoors. I mean, if you're gonna go outside, you need to stay by the house. Nowhere, anywhere further than that. Especially with the weird things going on.
Как принцесса в башне сижу. Никуда не могу выйти. Так и умру тут от скуки.
Не придумывай. От скуки еще никто не умирал. У тебя же есть я и мультики, а мама с папой скоро помирятся.
Знаешь, что бы я загадала на следующий день рождения? Чтобы родители тоже в детей превратились, и мы бы все вместе играли, как раньше.
Ага, а если бы они стали размером с жука, то мы бы их в спичечный коробок посадили.
Olia giggled and tugged at my sleeve.
Тоша, пойдем Аладдина смотреть.
Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was washed over by some sort of heinous apathy.
Вымотался я. Что-то не хочется.
Ну пойдем. Мне скучно одной, а мама занята все время. Можно выбрать другой мультик, который ты еще не видел.
Да я все наши кассеты наизусть знаю.
А вот и не все. Ты Питера Пэна не видел. Помнишь, ты уснул на середине? А там потом такое. Ну пойдем, пойдем.
You know, you probably should, because at the very least you'll be, giving her some attention as well as, kind of playing with her so that she doesn't feel the need to necessarily go out at night or even in general.
Давай попозже.
Рассказать тебе, чем все закончилось?
Утром расскажешь.
Утром не захочу. Придумала. А давай в прятки.
That's a terrible game to play. I mean, especially in these types of situations.
Нет, Оль.
Тогда нарисуй мне динозавра.
Оля, блин.
Нарисуй, нарисуй.
Да оставь ты меня в покое!
Ugh. I blurted it out without thinking, and then I was immediately taken aback. I've never screamed at my little sister like that. Olia stared at me in shock. Her lips started trembling, a precursor to tears. My chest was seething with disgust and embarrassment. What's happening to me? I hurried to prevent Olia from crying.
Ладно, уболтала. Давай смотреть мультики. Только недолго.
Уже не хочу.
I came up to her, put my hand on her soft head.
Пойдем. Питера Пэна посмотрим.
Ага, ты опять уснешь.
I smiled and lifted her chin. Her eyes were wet and felt bottomless.
Не усну, обещаю. А потом я тебе целого трицератопса нарисую.
Ура!
Damn, she recovered real fast.
Трипи! Сыри! Попса!
Ну, почти.
Olia rubbed her eyes with the sleeve of her pajamas, and a shining smile returned to her face.
Давай ты пока кассету перемотаешь, а я у мамы попрошу сгущенки с хлебом. Только утром свежий привезли, как ты любишь.
Неси, только аккуратнее, а то разольешь. Опять ругаться будут.
Спорим, не разолью. Кассета где-то в тумбочке. Поищи пока.
I will say though, I do like their relationship. They're really close. You know, they're nearly tight knit, which is good for these types of stories as well, because it just shows that the more they're bonded, the more you don't want them to separate or lose one another. Olia disappeared into the doorway, and I dragged my feet into the neighboring room. I guess it's time to turn on the... What's this eye indicate again? Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I can check out. Piggy bank. Olia is saving money for a real puppy because Dad said that taking care of him will take a lot of money. The scary window where Olia sees that accursed owl every night lurking in the dark. Olia keeps curtains open during the day, but as soon as the twilight comes, she shuts them tight, so she wouldn't see the pair of hungry eyes outside. What else am I missing here? Oh, the teddy bear. Olia's countless toys. An old teddy bear is the main attraction here. Olia doesn't sleep without it. And she digs her nose into its fur when she sleeps. Alright, well, let's turn on this TV. The old photon TV was gathering dust in the corner. All that was left was clicking the button on the front panel. The tube warmed up and familiar white noise started dancing on the black screen. I almost reached out to turn on the VCR when the noise calmed down and a blurry image appeared for a moment. The forest again? It was a dark taiga forest, just like the one outside my window. The picture split the screen in half. Something creepy resembling human speech was coming out the speaker. Just a few moments later, the scenery was again overshadowed by noise. Did it catch some rogue signal? Local TV station only really showed Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. And only just recently, I used to always watch Robotech before school. They had Robotech? It was so awesome. Maybe I should sync her with the antenna. What if I catch the channel again? On the other hand, Olia had asked me to find the tape. It would be nice to disappoint her. But in my sleepy state, I didn't have the strength to do all of it. Alright, well, search. I sifted through the shelves full of dolls and blue hippos from Kinder Surprise. I found the tape I needed thanks to its shabby spine. I got the black rectangle from its box. You spent the evening with your sister. The tape inside it rustled while rewinding to the beginning. This rustle was lulling me to sleep. Drowsiness attacked me while I was squatting before a TV. Images rolled in my head. Me and Olia flying above the forest, tumbling in soft clouds. My little sister's laughing, but her smile becomes more and more forced with every passing second. I noticed that the clouds underneath us part, bearing the bristly pine tops. Swampy darkness slurped among the trees. The wings are no longer able to hold us in Olia.
Ты не смотришь без меня?
I was rewinding it. My sister brought the tray with unevenly cut bread and a whole can of condensed milk. I rubbed my eyes.
Нет, садись.
Мама с папой опять ругаются.
У них сейчас период такой.
Глупый какой-то период.
On the screen, Wendy was hiding Peter Pan's shadow into the dresser. Olia was entertained by the cartoonish dog Nana.
Может, и нам родители собачку купят?
I'm trying to see the Peter Pan movie. Oh, that is interesting.
Ага, как же.
В Небыляндии у меня будет своя собственная собака. И кошка. И попугайчик.
Olia smeared a slice of bread with a thick layer of condensed milk and handed it to me.
А у тебя все молочные зубы выпали?
Конечно.
Olia frowned deep in thought.
У Питера Пэна зубы молочные. Вдруг со взрослыми зубами тебя не пустят в его страну?
Мы что-нибудь обязательно придумаем.
Попросим папу исправить тебе возраст в паспорте.
That's cute.
С чего это папа будет документы подделывать?
Olia took a bite from the sandwich and started talking with her mouth full.
Будет. Мама говорила, что он так делал. А я подслушала.
Смотри, уши вырастут, как у Дамбо.
Olia got worried and touched her ear. I smiled to myself. My little sister was silent now. She just devoured bread watching the adventures of Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and James Hook. As if she got sucked into the fairy tale Neverland. To be honest, I also imagined myself there in a land where no one ever ages, where no one argues over little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of broken plates at night. It felt like I was dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister's scream pulled me back to reality.
Тоша, скорее, штору задерни!
Uh-oh.
Зачем? Никто же на тебя не смотрит.
Уже темно, а когда темнеет, прилетает сова. Я боюсь.
Uh-oh. I got out of bed, fighting my drowsiness, and closed the curtains. Yep, let's do it. Is there any... Oh, I thought there was going to be hints for me to, like, touch something else. Alright. I did my best not to look outside, toward the treetops, toward the taiga forest, which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just a visual effect from the shadows of branches scraping the snow.
Тоша, мама думает, что я напридумывала про сову. И папа считает, что раз я маленькая, это значит врушка. А сова есть. Вот честная-пречестная, есть она. Ты же мне веришь, что она там и каждую ночь прилетает и...
I swiftly grabbed Olia's hand and looked her in the eyes. I was trying to transfer at least some of my courage and determination. But did I really have those
Я
qualities?
тебе верю, слышишь? Ты только родителям больше не рассказывай про сову. У них и так хлопот по горло, они только рассердятся. Ты мне говори, если что случится. И в окно не смотри.
Но она хочет, чтобы я смотрела.
Why would I want to look?
Перехочет. Притворись, что ее нет и не было никогда, что она выдумка, как родители говорят. Ей ждать надоест, она улетит.
We followed Peter Pan's adventures as if nothing had happened, as if the forest didn't kidnap kids, as if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running away from a crocodile, and Captain Pan was headed to London on a gilded sailboat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my little sister. Olia's eyelids had dropped. She started snoring lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. I stood up and left Olia's room. I was looking out the window, studying the field, when Mom peeked into my room.
Довольно баловства. Завтра первый день в школе. Ложись, тебе надо выспаться. Не хочешь же ты, чтобы тебя все дразнили Соней?
Adults think everything is so simple, as if sound sleep would ensure my classmates would like me. I covered myself with a blanket up to my neck and listened to the house humming, to something invisible rustling in the corners. My inner voice had a question for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? Maybe it's just part of growing up and I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind the barrier that was my walls. Some ethereal entity wandered the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled on an end on the night. My thoughts were like annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I fell into slumber. It has come after all. The day I feared the most. The first day of a new school term. Episode 2. Time to play with you. New school, new teachers, and most importantly, new classmates who I always have trouble connecting with. Like most other kids with glasses, probably. I forced myself to get out of my warm bed. Dad would usually drive me to my old school, but this morning the bedroom of my parents was silent. Did they sleep in? Maybe it was a good thing. I didn't want to get the daddy's boy reputation from day one. My parents were probably still tucked in dreaming about the good old days when everything was so simple and easy. Sweet dreams, even if far removed from reality. I silently sneaked out to the first floor so I wouldn't wake anybody, especially the peacefully sleeping Olia. I did my best to step on the middle of every floorboard. I used to play like this even in our old apartment. If my soles touched the space between the floorboards, it counted as stepping into lava. The clock was spurring me on in its hands. I need to hurry. Faster. Faster. I was too fast, so I need to circle the hallway once again. Boiling lava was bursting out the cracks between floorboards. I needed to watch my step to survive at any cost. Hippity hop, like a frog, jumping on molehills, like a fearful bunny in a grove of wolves. I made a sandwich in the kitchen, shoved it down my throat, and drank it down with cold tea. My appetite was as good as someone being led up the scaffold toward a guillotine. I lowered my gaze and saw that one of my feet was standing on two floorboards at the same time. Burnt to crisp, huh? I moved my foot. Disgusting little snakes writhed in my belly, the fear of getting hit and being called nasty names. The clock clicked. I need to go. It was dark outside, fitting for an early winter morning. The darkness never fully left the houses around here. I took my time tying my shoes, buttoning up the puffy down jacket, trying to delay my unpleasant exit into the semi-dark, into the unnerving unknown. I rubbed my glasses for good luck, though I couldn't remember a single time these thick pieces of glass brought me any good fortune. So we're just gonna wander off into the dark forest. Well, we're not going to the forest, but it's still dark out. It's not a good sign. The sky was akin to the giant bruise. On the east side of it, a black cloud was swollen up. It licked up the stars from the sky and extinguished the rising sun. Darkness was plastered all over the treetops. The cautious cries of birds got tangled up in the thicket. I locked the front door with a long key that I wore around my neck. My parents made me wear this noose, afraid that I, being a total klutz that I am, could lose the key otherwise. The wind whizzed on the other side of the gate and invited me into my new life toward dubious adventures. And tagged alone, like an old buddy, pushing me in the back. Wide shadows that pines threw out covered a third of the clearing. Upon reaching the edge of the forest, I hid my nose in the coat's collar. I was squeezing through the thin firebreak, my hair ruffled up and my back hunched over. Tall trees stood on both sides of the tiny trail, so we are still walking through the forest. God! The snowy blanket rustled under my feet, and the canopy of intertwined branches above my head cut me off from the already sparse starlight. The night had no plans of moving away from the forest. In this darkness, trees reminded me of shaggy old women that smelled of burial earth. Their trunks turned into cracked, wrinkled faces with holes in the middle as their mouths. If I lost focus even for a moment, mold-covered witches would drag me into the forest depths. Then my parents would be walking around these parts screaming my name. But the dead can't answer the living. Or can they? Now, why did that image flash out, huh? That's great. A sense of panic was growing in my chest. I was fine with Dad carrying me into the school in his hands by now if it saved me the watching the darkness rise up in the ravines like black dough. It felt like someone jumped into the bushes behind me, so I turned around. As soon as I started walking faster, I heard the snow squeak behind me. The forest took a deep breath with its giant lungs. The windfall cracked. The wind and the birds were left behind in the field. Now, I could only hear the forest creak. I walked, listening closely, and the unseen presence grew stronger, as if someone was following me, trying to match the pace of my footsteps. I turned my head so fast it made my neck crunch. A tiny trail behind me disappeared into the darkness. Tree branches overlapped, forming a natural tunnel.
Есть здесь кто?
The question escaped my lips and dissolved into the unending creaking sound of the wooden idols, the pines around me. Why did I think going through the forest alone was a good idea? I'm either going mad, or someone had intentionally lured me away from home. Distant lights granted me a smidgen of hope. A country road. I ran there as fast as I could, as if afraid that the trail would shrink. Clawed hands would grip me by the shoulders, turn me around and make me look at the faces of hungry forest denizens. In the end, nobody stopped me. I almost flew to the decrepit wooden bridge, disbelieving my luck. The bridge's supports bathed in a spring tarry ice cold. I put my hands on my knees and looked up at the forest, then snorted, trying to calm my breathing. The thicket was pretending to be asleep. It looked peaceful, lifeless. The remaining part of my commute lied through the snow-laden road, illuminated by sparse lamplights. I chased away the bad thoughts and ran as fast as I could, from one circle of light to another, seeking protection from electric lamps. Just like in that game where you need to be the first to proclaim I'm protected. It's just in this case that the protection was flimsy at best, with darkness riding outside its bounds. Then I noticed something remarkably eerie. In a place where the light from an inclined lamp couldn't reach, a hairy, crooked shadow came alive with a guttural roar. It almost felt like its features deterred light. Its unnatural pose instilled fear. My eyes almost popped out of their sockets as I stood there, blinking, trying to chase away that illusion. But the shadow didn't disappear and even got closer. My insides were gripped by horror. I stepped back and almost fell into a snow pile. The black silhouette, on the other hand, straightened up and addressed me in a sweet voice.
Чего крадешься? Душу мою украсть хочешь?
No, ma'am. Words got stuck in my throat. Who could be talking in such a silky voice here, between the forest and the dormant village?
Чего молчишь, несмышленыш? Язык вырвали? Слушай, а я тебе еще и нос откушу.
I would prefer you didn't.
Будешь знать, как совать его в чужие дела.
I was on my way to school, so... A girl stood before me, judging from the voice and the silhouette. But I couldn't even reprimand myself for getting scared by a girl, before noticing a gaping mouth under her hood with something dangerous shining inside. I was stunned. Wonderful. From the cavity of her hood, a frighteningly real fox face was staring straight at me. It's just her jaws weren't moving, and her eyes weren't blinking. A mask. It's just a girl with a fox mask on. At least, I wanted to think that. After a surprise like that, a nervous smile involuntarily crept onto my face.
А я... Просто в школу иду, а тут ты.
Что я? Никогда не видел, как лиса собаку кормит?
And indeed, there was a small dog circling the girl's legs. One of the strays that were chasing me yesterday, probably.
Извини, я не хотел.
After hearing my voice, the dog whimpered, lowered its ears, sniffed me out, and then started wagging its tail. I guess I still smelled the bologna that I ate for breakfast. I was shifting my gaze back and forth from the dog to the girl. She didn't seem scary anymore. Just weird.
Значит, не хотел. Ну-ну. Как тебя зовут?
I wouldn't give my name out if I were you.
Меня Антон,
But sure, why not?
а тебя?
А меня нет.
That's what I'm saying. She's weird. Definitely has a couple of loose screws. But she has a nice voice. My astonishment has turned into a mix of happiness and relief. This girl I didn't know, was definitely human. If a bit eccentric. I was also a bit angry at myself. This foxy girl was walking through the darkness without a problem, and I shuddered from every little sound. I could just walk away, but this girl had piqued my interest. Next time a police officer asks me about my friends in the new place, I'll tell him that I befriended a talking
Ты
fox.
здесь живешь? В поселке?
Well, I don't like that. She spun around so hard the hem of her coat lifted up.
Нет, глупый. Лисы не живут в поселках.
Хочешь сказать, ты живешь в лесу?
Из какой норы ты вылез? Конечно! Лисам среди людей не выжить. Пока они лисы.
Her jokes were also weird. Just like her carnival mask. Papier-mâché with fur glued onto it. A dog reminded us of his existence with a loud bark. I unfastened my backpack. Dad would sometimes throw food in there without my knowledge. Cookies, apples, or even my favorite crab sticks. He called it a gift from the bunny. The stray strolled toward me with mincing footsteps with a pleading look in its eyes. The fox did definitely treat it to something, but it was probably still hungry.
Зачем ты так вырядилась с утра пораньше? На утренник идешь?
Oh, you insulted her. The girl shrugged, throwing silvery snowflakes off her nose, and her human form along with them, turning into a genuine beast. A real fox, agile, cunning, dangerous. A moment of hesitation and you'll be ripped to shreds. She'll tear you up and gulp you down without breaking a sweat. I couldn't help but just stand there as a stump. Until I heard her calm, melodic laughter hidden underneath the beastly mask.
Видел бы ты свою маску, сладенький.
Sweet. Did she say sweetie? I got embarrassed. Went red up to my hair roots. We'd seen a fox in a zoo once, when we went there with Dad, but it had a patchy fur, was gray and skinny. But this girl was of a fiery color and furry, just like in the fairy tales.